From the locker room area, I'm here with the Rocket, Owen Hart. Owen, things are really going your way these days, aren't they?
That's right. You know, Raymond, 1992 has been a great year for High Energy and PWR and myself, and I think 1993 is going to be a lot of fun, and I hope for a lot more success in the future.
Very good. It's a known fact that the WWF champion, Bret the Hitman Hart, is your brother. But you must be concerned that at the pace that he is going, he will burn himself out.
Well, that is true, Raymond. Bret is working at a very hard pace, but he is WWF champion, and I think that's expected of him. Just like myself, we always try to give 100% and be the best we can be.
Owen, I have to ask you this. I heard that when you were a youngster that your father used to take you downstairs to the basement, which you referred to as the dungeon, and that's where you learned how to wrestle. Is that true?
That is true. There's 8 boys in my family, and my father always wanted a wrestling background in all of his sons. So he'd get us down in the basement, and sometimes I'd wrestle Bret, sometimes it was another brother, as long as I didn't have to get my dad, because he was the best wrestler around, and I sure didn't want to get in there with him.
Obviously, your father was a big influence on you and on Bret.
Hey, Rocket, your daddy teach you that one, man? Oh! All right. Your daddy teach you that one, man? Hey, Rocket, you tell your big brother, man, the WWF champion, you tell him Razor said he's next.
I am absolutely appalled by the underhanded actions of Razor Ramon. With the Royal Rumble just 2 weeks away, I can't help but feel there's going to be hell to pay in this one. Right now, let's hear from World Wrestling Federation champion Bret the Hitman Hart and the man who so viciously attacked his brother, challenger Razor Ramon.
Oh, Hitman. Razor understands you're a little upset because I slapped your little brother around? It's personal now, Chico. Yo, Bret Hart at the Rumble, Chico, you're next.
Let me tell you something, Razor Ramon. This won't be the first time that I'll have to pound out some bully for picking on one of my little brothers. But let me explain something to you, Chico. When you step in the ring with me, the excellence of execution in the Royal Rumble, I'm gonna show you that I'm not just a good wrestler, that I'm a tough fighter, and I'm gonna pound the daylights out of you.
Hey, yo. Let's get it out of the way right now. It's survey time. So, Cedar Rapids, are you here to see WCW? Or is everybody in Cedar Rapids here to see the survey says one more for the good guys. Okay, everybody knows that in a little over 2 weeks, the working man finally gets his shot at the big gold belt. So, hey Sting, hey Scary Man, let's compare the last 2 years of our careers. While you been hanging around in rafters, I've been cruising down the aisle, wrestling every single night. Now everybody agrees, hey, we all agree you got a cool entrance. Sometimes you come through the ring Sometimes you drop down from the ceiling. But what I gotta know is, what do you got when you step through the ropes?
He's got millions of fans behind him with what he's got. And the title.
Hey, Sting, they want you not near as bad as I want you. At Uncensored, you're gonna have to prove to me that you're better, and I don't think you can. So Stinger, if you want Scott Hall, don't sing it, bring it.
And Scott Hall will get his title shot on the 15th of March at Uncensored against the one and only Sting. I wonder if he'll put the Sting mask on and a sneak attack from behind with a baseball bat like he did on Monday.
The PWR presents What If? What if John Cena turned heel? What if China became the first woman world heavyweight champion? What if Owen Hart never passed away? What if Magnum TA never got into a car crash? What if Hulk Hogan stayed with the AWA? What if Shawn Michaels signed with WCW? What if WCW won the Monday Night Wars? What if Vince McMahon's WrestleMania failed? What if?
What is going on there, Reflectionites? What is going on to the dispensary HAMINites? What is going on to the PWCites and all the ites all over the world? And I am laughing so evil. You know what? I'm laughing so evil because when this recording drops, it will be my birthday week and I will be 48 years old. When this recording drops, President Donald J. Trump has been 100 plus days as the president, and we're still alive. You know, the world hasn't blown up yet, but you know, I'm still waiting for Independence Day or Final Contact or whatever those movies will happen. It'll be on Chunk Watch. But anyway, neither here nor there. But welcome to the PWR podcast here at the HAMIN Media Group at PodBean.com, and welcome to a very special What If edition of the PWR podcast, and we'll get into it in a couple of seconds. But if for the video Reflectionites on my YouTube channel, you already know what we're talking about because you can see it on my picture screen. But before we even talk about it, I must introduce myself because I am vain like that. I must introduce myself because, again, by this recording, I'm going to be 48. I got to get younger. I got to get sexier. I got to get more glorious. I am the most magnanimous one. I am the most effortless one. I am the most nostalgic one. But like I said, I am the most glorious one. The only objective man in this IWC, YWC, probationary solitary confinement, PWC punditry. The only objective man in this Twitterverse. The only objective man in this, well, this is our last Skype recording. I am so disgusted about that. We are going to do a proper funeral eulogy for the Skype app. But anyway, we'll do that in about a couple of seconds. I am the Professor Chabebe Cruz. And I'm not here alone. No. I am here with my brother from another mother, the conservative liberal, the liberal conservative, dumb doing idiot song, the iron stomach one, Dr. Frickenstein, and the undisputed, undeniable Detroit Rock City Universal Heavyweight Champion of the world. But for this week, because he's wearing a Washington Capitals jersey, he is the, Jesus Christ, not during my introductions, please. He is the Washington, D.C., United States Heavyweight Champion of the world. Woo! Tommy Wonder, how you doing, my friend?
I was staring at this belt and almost grabbed it. And then you said, the United States heavyweight champion. So I was like, I have to now.
Well, it's apropos. You're wearing the Capitals jersey. Alex Ovechkin is the goal point leader. He's in the Capitals are in the playoffs. So it's apropos. I got to introduce you that way.
Listen, let me tell you something. Because I'm sure one of our Elite 8 or Dirty Dozen are probably Pittsburgh Penguins fans, right? Sidney Crosby, that's great. I think he's got more points than Ovechkin. If he doesn't, he's got more assists for sure. But you know what he doesn't have? More hits. Because Ovechkin just broke Gretzky's record and added to it. He got one more. And he's going to add to it next year. But you know what other record he's going to set? He's number 3rd all time in hits. And he's already wrecking motherfuckers in the playoffs. And yesterday he
Wait, hold on. Hitting what? Players?
Yeah, checking.
Oh, okay.
He's 3rd all time in checking and number 1 all time in scoring. Normally, those are 2 different hockey players. They're not. Gretzky's not anywhere near that list, nor is Crosby. And Crosby's more of a playmaker passer, which also, by the way, Wayne Gretzky's assist and point record will never be touched. I'm also a Wayne Gretzky fan. I grew up watching him play. I know he's the GOAT. I also know that Michael Jordan's the GOAT because I watched him play too. But I just want all these Pittsburgh Penguins dopes to know I would take Ovechkin over Crosby all day, every day. And I'm saying I wouldn't take Crosby, but I would take Ovechkin first.
Well, I'm not the avid hockey watcher, except when the Rangers or the Devils are in the playoffs, which the Devils are, but they'll get spanked in the first round. But
Spanked yesterday.
Ovechkin is more of the blue-collar hockey player. Crosby is the flashy guy, so I kind of know my thing. I like Gretzky. He's flashy and all that stuff. I like Mark Messier, what he did. He brought the cup to New York. So, he kept his promise and all that stuff. But Ovechkin, like I keep saying, he's a blue-collar guy. He'll drink a beer with you and hit you in the face. So, both ways. You'll have fun either way.
And then hug you afterward.
That's true. It's never personal. It's only business. But anyway, we're not talking about the NHL. We're not talking about NBA playoffs. We're not talking about football drafts. We are a nostalgic podcast. And shout outs to the prodigal one, JB, because he is still on the gay cruise. And, it's called the Diddy Exploration Cruise 2025. He told me this. I'm not lying. I got the DMs to prove it.
He is home, but he told me, he's resting his bum. And he said he can't get the smell of baby oil out of his head. He can't do it. It's just there. Can't concentrate on nothing else.
We got a witness here. He's got the DMs. I got the DMs. It was a gay cruise, but neither here nor there. He lives a double life. He has a wife, but he still has to have. He has needs. It is what it is. But anyway, we're a nostalgic wrestling podcast, and it's been a while, TW, that we've done a What If Special edition, and I thought of you with doing this particular What If because in our 8 years or plus of doing this podcast here and there, you've always said this sentiment. You've always said this statement. You always try to, sneak it in every time here or there. We always talk so long, but you always try to remind the Reflectionites. You always said that the most, untapped potential man who never, ever been a world heavyweight champion is the guy behind me. Well, 2 guys, but it's the same guy. Scott Hall or Razor Ramon. Pick your poison, Reflectionites. But it is true that neither Scott Hall or Razor Ramon ever held the world
or Rick Rude.
I'm not doing that what if, all right? We're going to keep it to one subject, motherfuckers. But anyway, it is Scott Hall. It is Razor Ramon. TW has said it. I got the tapes and all that stuff. But before we get into this what if edition, Reflectionites, I just want to do this, TW, because you know how all the kayfabe commentaries always talk about Scott Hall not being that heavyweight champion and not having a reason. And everybody has their own kind of like conspiracy theories about why he was never the heavyweight champion. Well, we are the PWR podcast. We have to chime in on that delicate reason too. So I'll go first because let's do the realistic thing. The realistic thing about why Scott Hall, Jesus Christ, TW, every time I record, it's either you're eating You belching, you drinking.
That was an inner belch. I didn't even use
I
my
heard it. I heard it, motherfucker. But anyway.
I'll fart next.
I know you will. But anyway, but one of the main reasons why Scott Hall did not become a world heavyweight champion in WWE or WCW is the real life situation. I think we all can agree, you know, the man was gifted. He had a wrestling mind. But when he was laser focused, he is one of the greatest, you know, minds in the wrestling business. He had an affinity for it. He know how to tell a story. He had a great work rate. He wasn't flawless like Bret Hart, but he had great damn matches if you will. But like I said, those vices behind the scenes, alcohol and drugs and all that stuff, TW, it doesn't make you dependable. It doesn't make you serviceable. So TW, do you agree with that sentiment because of the vices that he did behind the scenes?
Scott Hall got in his own way. And I just want to say this, because you got Razor Ramon over your right shoulder, you got Scott Hall over your left shoulder. We're going to talk about if either one of them won the world title in WWE or WCW. But
no, we're talking about both situations. We're going to do both situations.
No, I said we're going to talk about Razor not winning the WWE, Scott Hall not winning WCW. But if you ask me, I'm a Scott Hall guy from way back. Mm-hmm. And if you'd have told me that Scott Hall and Curt Hennig were going to lose the tag team titles to Buddy Rose and Doug Summers, and that Curt Hennig was going to go on to win the world title, I would have told you you're nuts, because Scott Hall has it. Scott Hall was the muscle. He was the Diesel to Curt Hennig, Shawn Michaels, and the Team form, because Diesel and Shawn Michaels is better. God bless both Curt and Razor, right? But
understood.
Scott Hall was absolutely under. What's the word we use?
Untapped potential. Underrated.
In an AWA, the AWA, who was fucking starving for stars. Like, yeah, we didn't know what kind of star Scott Hall could be. Not only in AWA, but his first run in WCW. I don't know if you remember this. You probably do. He started out there as Gator Scott Hall with them fur boots and would do jobs on WCW Saturday night. Then after a few months, they turned him into the Diamond Stud. And it was such a physical transformation that I didn't realize it was Scott Hall for a minute. It was
wait. Hold on. Let's be honest. You saw untapped potential in Gator Scott Hall?
No.
Oh, okay.
I saw untapped potential in AWA Scott Hall.
Gotcha. Big Scott Hall.
So when he got to WCW and he's already in the ring and doing jobs, he was usually in a tag team and the other guy got beat. And they talked about him like, that's Gator Scott Hall. Like they were going to do something with him, but he still only was on Saturday night, always lost to whoever he was teaming with against the Master Blasters or whoever the fuck. And I don't think it was the Master Blasters. It was before him. That's because that's Diesel. But I couldn't believe how they fumbled him. Then when they made him Diamond Stud, I'm like, all right, here we go.
And there you go. That's untapped potential, and that is what could have been too. So
yeah,
I agree with that.
And then he ends up. I think he left too soon. We can't fault WCW for not using the Diamond Stud enough because he left quick. He was already there as Gator Scott Hall before becoming the Diamond Stud. I don't know if he was even there a year as the Diamond Stud, and then he left. And then, but I've said it to you a million times. There's two guys who I think the pop that they got is second to none in the 90s. And it's Ken Shamrock and Razor Ramon. When they were piping the shit in, but when they announced them and the fucking music hit, whatever show I was watching, whether it was Raw, Superstars, or whatever. And here's the thing, I don't think it was piped in because I watched people jump out of their seats the second that and he came out, and Ken Shamrock was
don't forget the pay-per-views too. SummerSlam, WrestleMania, Razor Ramon got it.
The reason I brought that up is Ken Shamrock. I love him. I thought he wasn't as good as Angle was right out the gate, but I think Ken Shamrock was pretty damn good. But he's not on my list of people that didn't win the world title that should have. Right? If he did, he did great. Fucking don't talk to me about the damn TNA bullshit.
NWA TNA, it still counts as a heavyweight champion. But anyway,
I don't count the UWF, motherfucker, so I'm not counting that.
You should. But anyway, let's not derail. Because,
but I'm saying, Scott Hall, what you said at the beginning, Razor Ramon, whether it was the King of the Ring tournaments, whether it was one-on-one with the fucking kid, he made the 1-2-3 kid a star in that match. Whether he worked Bret, Shawn, it didn't matter who he worked. Scott Hall was always on people's list. Like, there was no doubt he was winning an Intercontinental title because that was the worker's belt, right? And he did. And it's insane to me that he was never WWE World Champion.
Yeah, it is insane. But again, like I said, the behind the scenes, probably Vince was a little bit taken aback with the drinking and with the drugs. Could he be dependable? Could he be serviceable and do all the duties of being the man with the belt? So that's one issue. Here's another issue that I don't think a lot of people even kind of think about, TW. Maybe you never thought about this because you just said he was the Intercontinental Champion. I can't believe it never was the World Heavyweight Champion. Or in WCW, he was the World Tag Team Champion. I can't believe he wasn't the WCW Heavyweight Champion.
Did he win the TV title there?
He was the TV champion and the U.S. Heavyweight Champion at one time. Yep. But I'm just saying, he won those belts, and you're like, why wasn't he the WCW Champion too? Here's a funny situation, TW and Reflectionites. But again, I don't think people notice this. And TW, I will bet money on this. TW didn't realize this. Scott Hall or Razor Ramon was never the World Heavyweight Champion in either company for one other particular reason, and it's on TV per se, TW. You know that reason?
What?
Timing. Look at the people that were the heavyweight champion, especially in WWE. You know, Bret Hart was dependable. Shawn Michaels was the next generation leader. Kevin Nash,
he was the dependable version of Scott Hall, who was also drunk and drugged up, but
he
showed up.
But timing wise, I'm just giving you the names. Shawn Michaels, dependable, but the leader of the new generation. Diesel, leader of the new generation. So it just didn't work out on that end. WCW, Eric Bischoff already had his guy. It was Hulk Hogan. So it was Hulk Hogan, NWO. Then you had you filter in Sting.
Kevin Nash.
You got Kevin Nash. You got Goldberg and shit like that. Macho Man Randy Savage. It just, the timing wouldn't have fit in the Booker's eyes with Scott Hall or Razor Ramon. What say you about that sentiment? Do you agree?
I agree. There was a long list. So I'm going to agree with WWE. I'm not going to agree with WCW, and I'm going to tell you why. In WWE, that belt changed hands once a year on average, sometimes twice in a year, and then towards the end, fuck it. They were hot potato in that motherfucker when Shawn was losing his smile, and Undertaker and Bret and Diesel and Bob Backlund all had it within fucking 8 weeks of each other. But it was harder as Razor Ramon to do it because of how infrequent the title changed hands and the guys that they had it on, right? However, there's no doubt in my mind, I don't know if Vince has regrets, but whether it be Vince, Bruce Pritchard, or whoever else is in the room booking, there's got to be someone thought.
Give or take, maybe Cornette. I'm just giving names out there.
But I'm saying in WWE, there's got to be one of them goes, how the fuck did we never put the belt on Razor? At least just to see. You can take it right off him like you did RVD, or you can just see what happens, right? And my big bow on this, and I know it's different. It's hard to say this because Kevin Nash did. If you ask me if Razor won the world title, and this is how I would have done it, he beat Shawn Michaels for the ladder match, right? And just like Rick,
you already want to book it? No.
I'm saying how I would have made him champion. Well, I guess, but I'm saying you could have went many routes. You could have just had him win King of the Ring. You could have had him win whatever the fuck. But you could have done with him what you did with Owen and Bret, what you did with Rick Rude and Warrior. Razor beat Shawn Michaels for the IC title, so he should have at some point got a match with Shawn for the world title, even if he lost. But that's how you get him in the mix. And I think if he ever won the world title in WWF, I don't think he ever leaves and goes to WCW. Kevin Nash is a money mark. He went because he got paid. Scott Hall loved money, but I think if he'd have got the world title, he would have got the money because he said he didn't want to leave. He said, I don't want to leave, man. But they wouldn't match the WCW money. But I think if he's world champion, and I don't know that Scott Hall grew up watching wrestling like us, but I still think he was a fan of the business. I still don't think Kevin Nash is. So I think Scott Hall stays put if he wins world title in WWF. Now, the reason I disagree with you in WCW is it's always been a fucking hot potato there. There's no excuse that Scott Hall never won that world title. None. The fact that you put it on Kevin Nash and then dropped it with the finger poke of doom for fucking Hogan, all dumb shit. You put it on Jay Leno. You put it on fucking the other asshole, fucking Scream.
David Arquette.
David Arquette. And I like him. I met him. Nice guy. I think he loves the business. Scott Hall should have got the world title in WCW because he was, as Travis likes to say what you will about his personal demons. Until the end, Scott Hall was a good hand. That guy, when it came to the NWO, that motherfucker was taking bumps for everybody the whole run until the fucking 97 versions of the NWO.
I agree. I'm just saying, like I said, I think a lot of people just don't realize that, TW. I don't think they realize, if you really just look back in hindsight, the timing just didn't work in either organization. And you have a good case about the WCW because, again,
I disagree.
everybody...
Dude, there was time to put it on Jay Leno and David Arquette. That means there was time to put it on Scott Hall. They fucking fumbled.
And Paul Heyman fumbled in ECW. Scott Hall could have been an ECW champion for me, but he didn't get that chance because it was only a couple of weeks. Shut up! It is.
That's like NXT.
It is.
By the way, I wanted to ask this question a couple different times. How many NXT championships does Charlotte have? 1?
2.
2. And they're counting them motherfuckers towards her 14-time champion?
You got to.
No, that's not a world title. That's a motherfucking Florida heavyweight championship is what that is. And ECW's is a Philadelphia heavyweight championship. And
it
World
is not
Class
a Philadelphia
Texas heavyweight championship. Those are not world. And UWF is motherfucking Carolina heavyweight champion. And what's the other one you try to call a world? Oh, fucking Tennessee world heavyweight champion is a TNA title.
Jesus Christ, you are ruthless.
I'm just telling you, we can't disrespect the words world title. AWA, WWE, NWA, WCW. I will even fucking call AEW a world title now because they at least defend the motherfucker in Japan and the US. So I will give them world title status. I don't think they're going to be around much longer, but I'll still call it a world title.
Those other titles were defended in Japan. But anyway, let's get into this special What If edition, Reflectionites. And again, it's a what if Scott Hall and Razor Ramon became the world heavyweight champion. So TW, the choice is yours. Which one do you want to start first in looking and changing history for the better? WWE or WCW?
It's WWE, man. It's the one that should have been. I'm not even mad that he didn't win the WCW world title because it's damn near borderline not a world title. So
I'm just saying it's a democracy.
I said it with a straight face. No, it's WWF, man, because I think it should have happened. I think him beating Bret, him beating Shawn, him beating Flair. Like, I mean, I don't want him to win the world title from Flair and stop Bret from winning it. But once Bret won it and Flair got it, well, no, Flair got it back from Savage. So fuck, man, he probably should have won it from Flair instead of Savage. And I love Savage. But that dude was 107.
Again, you're giving us the people that got in the way of that dream of Razor Ramon being the champion. But we have to create a situation, or we have to create a scenario that makes the best sense of the world.
So I'll go first. The ladder match with WrestleMania 10.
Yes, 1994.
So that's fucking 2 years after Macho Man won the world title.
Yeah.
So no, Macho won it. Yeah, he won in 92 after the Rumble. So, damn, Shawn didn't get in the world title picture until 95?
Yeah.
Damn, I felt like Shawn was right in there after Bret. Bret's 93, right?
He got a world title match in 92, but everybody knew that he wasn't going to win the world title because it was too early. That's what the problem. That's what it was.
Against Bret or against Flair?
Bret. Survivor Series 93. No, he won it in 92.
Oh, that's right. Flair won the world title at the Rumble 92. He came in December of 91. I was thinking December 92, left in 93.
Don't
Bret won
change.
in 92, and Bret didn't, and Shawn didn't get in the world title until 94, 5.
He didn't get the main event in 95, but then he didn't win until 96. But anyway, we're not doing HBK. We're doing Razor.
No, I'm trying to figure out where. So I think, absolutely, Razor should have got in there soon because Razor was He came in 92.
Late 92, yeah.
Yeah. So
October of 92, he debuted.
And so when was the first Monday Night Raw? 94.
93.
It was 93. That's the one where he lost to 1, 2, 3 Kid, right?
during
No.
the
That was
June.
Bret. That was Bret and 1, 2, 3 Kid, the first one.
No. You're right. You just said it right. He lost
was
in '93. Yeah.
So probably within 6 months of that, he's a babyface.
Yeah, against DiBiase.
For the money. And he helped the kid.
Mm-hmm.
He fucking absolutely should have won the world title before Ray Scott.
All right. Forget about the realistic ones. I'm trying to get a scenario here, man. This is the Reflectionites. Wait a minute. Hold on. This is the first what if that TW is actually thinking about the real life shit that happened, and now I'm trying to create a different situation.
Because you're trying to erase Bret and Warrior.
No.
Annals of history.
I'm not trying to erase history. I'm just trying. This is the funniest shit, and I'm trying to create a scenario for you. But
I'm trying to slide him in there in place of somebody. It's too early to put him in there over Macho Man.
Let me give you a scenario that works because you already kind of said it, right? I'll fix it. Okay. Now the best scenario for Razor Ramon is like you said. He's already the Intercontinental Champion. He's the Workman's Champion, all that stuff. He can have the war. He already had the wars, Diesel, HBK, and all that stuff. We already, and you know where I'm going with this. The ladder match solidifies everything for Razor Ramon. The ladder match and HBK, they go to the next level. They were mid-carders, and now they're semi-main eventers and all that stuff. He is made. They're both made and all that stuff. You just said it. So within that realm, if you will, because from that point on, from WrestleMania 10 in 1994, you could either choose your poison. You could either say HBK wins the belt no matter what. You could say, let's just say hypothetically, HBK wins the belt. But people say with Razor Ramon, you got my respect. You're on the next level. So you can pick your poison because what you had in 1994? You had the King of the Ring. You can do him going out against all odds, but then you kind of slide out Owen Hart in that bullshit. I'm just saying, you have to pick your poison.
Maybe he lives.
That too. So you can have the option of Razor Ramon being the King of the Ring in 1994 and then establishing himself as the number one contender to the heavyweight champion if it's Bret Hart. Respect factor, because then you kind of like going back to the 93 Royal Rumble where he got the shot when he was the heel and it didn't work out. But now you can build on that history. Maybe you could actually make it a little bit sooner that Bret Hart kind of like turns maybe a little heelish, if you will. I'm not saying full blown heel, but kind of like blurring the lines between Canada and United States, and then Razor Ramon somehow, some way becomes the defender of America. I'm just giving you one of the situations, Reflectionites. Maybe we'll see where TW goes with that. Or option B would be you carry on him, maybe he's chasing the World Heavyweight title. Maybe he is feuding HBK, trying to get back that Intercontinental title and comes up short. But oh God, did you fart? Did you fart?
I told you I was gonna.
Jesus Christ. Welcome back, TW. We've missed you. But anyway, the next option would be, hold up, don't fart again, would be Royal Rumble 1995. You have him win it since HBK is already the Intercontinental Champion, and he's doing that. Maybe Bret Hart or Diesel's the champion. Who knows? I don't know how you want to play that game. Maybe HBK and Diesel is controlling the world as the top heels over strong. Diesel's the heel champion. Razor overcomes the odds in 1995 Royal Rumble, and Razor gets the main event slot at WrestleMania 11. You never know. I'm just giving you those options. Which way does the option work for you, in your humble opinion?
So, when was the 94 was the ladder match?
Mm-hmm.
And 95, Shawn wins the title.
No, 96, Shawn wins the heavyweight title.
That was boyhood dream shit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Shawn wins it, boyhood dream. He's a babyface, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think, because now Scott Hall's a babyface, Razor. I think he challenges him. Like we got Bulldog Bret. We got, good guy versus good guy. And I think Shawn.
Wait, what year you're talking about? 96 or 95?
96.
Okay. Oh, you're waiting 2 years.
SummerSlam 96. Razor beats Shawn Michaels clean in a regular match, becomes the world champion.
Okay.
Shawn chases him to try to get it back because you have to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just keeps coming up short, right? whether it be time limit draws, powder, dusty finishes because Kevin Nash and whoever fucking schmozzes them. Royal Rumble is Shawn and Razor versus Nash and some other jabron. 1, 2, 3 Kid would be good, or Hunter, right? Finally, Shawn's at his wit's end, just like he challenged Undertaker the second time, and he says no. Razor could be like, Shawn, I've already given you a bunch. He's like, no, one last time, ladder match, and Shawn wins it back at WrestleMania in the ladder match to give it full
97.
97.
That's intriguing.
Yep.
You know what you just did there?
What?
You just killed the NWO. No, you erased the NWO.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. He's staying if he's getting the world title.
I'm just telling you what you just did.
The NWO is going to be fucking 1, 2, 3 Kid and fucking Kevin Nash instead.
You just said 1, 2, 3 Kid. He would never leave the clique. The clique stays if
their last deal was Royal Rumble, because that's where Vader. No, did Vader beat Scott Hall at WrestleMania that year, 95?
Vader beat Scott Hall in your house.
Okay, but right before the fucking June that he came out on Nitro.
Right.
Because they sent him home for only 30 days. They used to do it for 90. I'm telling you, Scott Hall, he always said he wasn't a mark for the belts, but I still think there's nobody nowadays, all bets are off. But back then, if you're in the business, you want that fucking title. There's guys who know they're never going to get it, but if you came up to them and said, hey man, we're going to put the belt on you, motherfuckers were like, what? Okay, what I got to do, right?
He was a mark for the money. No, let's not get it twisted.
But
He's
the
a mark
belt
for the
means more money. That's why I'm telling you, he would have wanted the belt, because if you get the belt, you get the fucking gate.
No,
and if you draw,
I understand. Let's not parlay the business end of it. Let's just make it make sense. Again, like I said, you just killed the NWO idea out the pasture, because again, the clique would stay in the WWE somehow, some way.
I still think Kevin Nash leaves.
You know what you created with that situation? Honestly,
what? Kill DX too.
No, well, you maybe kill DX, but what did the clique want? The clique wanted everybody in the main event scene. The clique wanted everybody to have the top dollar. So somehow, some way, it was either going to be Razor against Shawn, or maybe Diesel against the Kid, vice versa. You pick your poison.
Right.
And that's element right there. The clique just dominates the main event scene. Maybe you force Bret Hart to leave WWE sooner. Maybe you force Undertaker to leave WWE, and he didn't want to leave. So again,
maybe Mark Callis and Bret Hart, or Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, to go and start the NWO with Hulk Hogan.
It just plays out like that. Again, the what if. This is history changing, Reflectionites. You never know what certain situations parlay into what happens in the other, side of the business, like in Atlanta. But let's stick with Razor Ramon.
So I just want to say something that I heard this a long, long time ago when I was younger. I read it somewhere that, guys sign at the same time as other guys sometimes. And some of the gimmicks that end up with some guys almost went to someone else. And I had always heard Brutus Beefcake was almost Rick Rude, or Rick Rude was almost Brutus Beefcake. One of the two was almost the other one. And Rick Rude wrestled as Rick Rude in World Class. So I'm going to assume the Beefcake thing is probably, but whatever, the gimmick that Rick Rude had almost went to Beefcake. And it didn't. And he became Brutus Beefcake. He became Rick Rude, all worked out. I know for a fact, and I don't know if you know this, but when Edge first went to WWF and they were talking to him about names, and I heard this from him, he was offered all these different names, and he tried to get the Val Venus gimmick, because he's like, look, man, I already wrestle with Sexton Hardcastle. You don't even have to change the name. I just let me be that gimmick, and I'll be Sexton Hardcastle. And they went with Val Venus instead, and Sean Morley, and then Edge became Brood with Gangrel. But Edge tried to be Val Venus before Sean Morley was Val Venus. So Hall and Nash staying means Bret and Taker could be the guys that went there and formed the NWO with Hogan, and it would have had a different outcome.
Again, would it be successful? Would it have changed the course of the wrestling business? We don't know. Again, this is just one of those what ifs that just makes a lot of sense. And again, we're just being realistic here, because the dominoes fall with Razor Ramon in our situation, Reflectionites, as the WWE Heavyweight Champion, because the Click stays, the Click has a power play, and the Click's happy making all the money, and then everybody else might get disgruntled and all that stuff. Maybe, Vince McMahon has to make some tough financial decisions too, letting some people go. Who knows? Or maybe even the WWE goes bankrupt and Bischoff wins because of Bret Hart and Mark Callis. I don't know. I'm just saying, but neither here nor there. But before we go to the WCW side, the Atlanta side, TW, because I think it might be a little bit easier and all that stuff. But I didn't hear your situation. You gave me a little bit of the scenario in '96, but again, we have to pick our poisons too, because again, you picked it as easy because of what happened after WrestleMania 10. But is there a situation for Razor Ramon in WWE maybe winning the King of the Ring that makes it make sense, or is it too big that he has to win it he has to get his moment at WrestleMania, or could he win the King of the Ring and get his moment at SummerSlam, or get his moment at Raw?
King of the Ring is fine because it's going to be SummerSlam that he beats Shawn for the title in my scenario, because you don't have Bret lose it to Shawn at WrestleMania and then lose it at King of the Ring. He keeps it for 6 months, and I'm pretty sure business was down when Shawn was champion, so it wouldn't have been out of the realm of possibility to put the belt on Razor, but they're gone by then, right?
Right. No, but I'm saying like Razor's got to beat Bret Hart.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Inevitably, it's Bret and Razor at the Montreal screw job, and there is no screw job. And I think Bret loses to Razor.
That's what I'm trying to say. We have to at least make it make sense for Razor and Bret Hart, because again, I think it's easier for Razor to win King of the Ring and maybe challenge Bret Hart at SummerSlam, because in my humble opinion, I don't know if you agree.
Why is champ Bret Hart? Because Shawn is the champ.
Well, you're making Shawn. I'm doing 94, not 96.
Okay.
I'm just being realistic with your man.
I thought you said I didn't do it in 96, because I think if Razor stays, Razor's a part of DX. There's no doubt about it.
We'll put a bow on this. From your situation, what makes it make it better? Because I'm trying to reward Razor Ramon for coming up short. In my humble opinion, in WrestleMania 10, he loses the ladder match, but gains the respect of his peers, gains the respect of Vince McMahon, and Vince is saying, you know what? You're on the next level. We got to see what what you're made of. No, he won the ladder match. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying he loses, but gains the respect, and he gets to the next level.
Instant redemption is winning King of the Ring.
Right. That's the way I'm going with this, because if he wins the ladder match, he's the Intercontinental Champion. So you're building more for a longer reign and more feuds, and then just building his cred, and then down the road is more like 95, 96. Right. Eventually, he has to lose the IC title. So is that the way you want to play it? Build his Intercontinental legacy?
My perfect storm is he beats Razor, beats Shawn for the ladder match. I think they did a rematch at SummerSlam that year, and he won that too. Or did Shawn win that one?
He won WrestleMania 10 ladder match, lost SummerSlam 95 ladder match against Shawn.
Right, so they did even it up.
Yes.
And that makes it even better when they fucking Shawn challenged him, because it's the rubber match. You won one, I won one. Let's do it one more time. So I like that scenario, but it also keeps him in WWE, doesn't go to WCW. And again, like it's revisionist history, if you will, but I really, really, really liked WCW before the Monday Night Wars. Like, I was a big fan of Ron Simmons and Eddie Gilbert versus the Fantastics. It's one of my favorite matches ever. I love Brian Pillman versus Liger. I love Brian Pillman versus Brad Armstrong. I loved all that stuff. It was when the Attitude Era and the Monday Night War started where it turned into something I didn't like. They were just shitty. Like the behind the scenes stuff that came to the forefront of the TV, like the idea that you would want to put another company out of business, not just because you want to win. I understand that. But to gloat about it and to make it a mission, and then when you're winning for 83 weeks, just rub it in. I didn't like it.
But this is our what if. So there's harmonious respect between both, and they don't acknowledge each other. In a perfect world, they don't acknowledge. You're in your world, I'm in my world, and that's all it is.
Yep.
So we put a ball on WWE.
Yep.
You want Razor to build a legacy, and then kind of like, after all these years, kind of moment. Is that the best way for you?
I just think it's the best business is is you give him the world title by having Shawn versus him one more time in a ladder match. Well, no. Shawn would be losing the belt to him at SummerSlam in a regular match, and Shawn ends up taking it back to be 2 out of 3 in the ladder match, and then maybe he goes to WCW after that. But I still think if he wins the world title WWF, he never leaves. He stays. Because he had already been to WCW and got used for shit. So if he's there,
I understand that. I'm just trying to be realistic because, again, your years is kind of murky with me because I'm trying to create a scenario that works, because the Shawn thing works, but Shawn is not the champion until 96. You know, you get where I'm going with that?
With the 94 is 95, 94, 93. The business sucked then.
Forget about that. I'm just saying from your standpoint, what you're saying then is Razor Ramon, it's more better for, I'm not saying his boyhood dream, but his history in the business finally getting the moment. It's a longer, arduous process for him. I'm just trying to
finally beating Raven.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just trying to understand where you're going with. I didn't say you're wrong.
He said it. He did get a title shot at Bret. I think it was Bret Royal Rumble. He did get them, but they were heel. They were throwaways. They were feeder fish matches, which is what the Miz is going to be for fucking Aleister Black. But they were nothing burgers. I want it to be a program that ends with him winning the world title, running with it, and then dropping it back to Shawn. And it's a nice little, chef's kiss. Yeah. And then he might win it again later.
No. But again, at least with the scenarios of King of the Ring, the scenario of maybe the Royal Rumble, it makes it easier for him to win that particular event to get the match.
Yeah.
That's what I'm just saying.
But my problem with that window is 93, 94, 95, business is just down. So I think if he's champion.
But he wasn't given the torch, if you will.
Yeah, but if no one's watching, they're not going to give a fuck if Scott Hall won the title because they're not going to know.
Again, maybe Vince says, you know what? People grab. You just said it. Even if the business is down, the reaction was still up for him, right? You can't deny that.
Right.
So, maybe Vince.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
We know he had awesome matches in WWF with Shawn, with Diesel, with Bret, with 1, 2, 3 Kid, probably with DiBiase, probably with Perfect. He didn't have those great matches in WCW. He lost to Sting, lost to DDP. He wasn't the workhorse that he was. So don't you think if he stays, and it's still the Attitude Era versus the Monday Night Wars, right? Don't you think Scott Hall versus Austin, Scott Hall versus The Rock, Scott Hall versus Triple H, Scott Hall versus Bret versus Shawn, don't you think that's a better place for Shawn or for Razor to wrestle than the shit he got to do in WCW?
If he was focused and not on the sauce.
I'm talking about
you're right.
What we already knew of him from 93 or 92 on.
I'm not disputing that. No, you're right. You're right. If he stayed committed, was there, it would be great matches. And he would accentuate the Attitude Era with the Razor Ramon character, or maybe he would just go and become and just say, no, I'm not Razor. I am Scott. Whatever the case may be.
It would have been like Hunter Hearst Helmsley became Triple H. He'd have just been Double R or something. But
it could have worked that way. But we have to go to Atlanta, TW. We have to be fair here with this what if situation. Now this is a little bit, I don't know if it's easier or at least again, because there's a lot of scenarios between the 96 and 2000 window, if you will, Reflectionites. TW, he won, the best realistic situation, he won the Battle Royal pay-per-view. It was called World War III in 1997. I'm just giving you the logistics, the true logistics.
Won that?
He won it. He won that Battle Royal in November of 1997, and then he got the heavyweight title shot against Sting in February of 1998. It was Super Bowl. I forget what number it was, but it was
Didn't even know that.
I do. That's why I'm the professor. I'm just giving you the realistic situation there. So, again, we could easily say, what if Scott Hall won Super Bowl 1998, knowing what we know now?
And that would have been almost a year after Sting won it?
No, because Sting won the title from Hogan in Starrcade 97, December of 97.
Super Bowl is in the fall.
No, Super Bowl is in February. It's in 2 months.
Oh shit. I thought Super Bowl was in October.
No, but like you said, people hot potato the belts. It didn't matter no matter what.
Right.
The reason I'm saying this, and this is
that would have killed
one of the
Sting.
forget about Sting. It's about Scott. But anyway,
Right. No, I know.
the situation it would create is kind of like funny to me because again, remember, if Scott Hall was focused, again, we're going with that scenario, Reflectionites, and Scott Hall became the champion in that situation, February 1998, Super Bowl and all that stuff, you could create a multiple world order factions. You could create a dominant, you can create the Wolfpack NWO legitimately with Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Six Pac. He wasn't fired yet. You could create, and then you could create the Hollywood NWO faction. Scott Hall with the world title is now leading the charge against Hulk Hogan's Hollywood faction. So that's one situation that could happen. So TW, agree, disagree, or what's your scenario for Scott Hall to become the WCW champion?
So the problem is so I liked it when they first started. Hogan was world champ. Hall and Nash were tag champs. They added X-Pac. He was the cruiserweight champ or whatever the fuck belt he had, or TV. I can't remember. So it was perfect. But the second they weren't tag champs anymore, it was obvious Scott Hall was the third wheel. And that's why I think he was an afterthought there, right? He was their bump man. So I think Scott should have been the one to break off and start his own thing against Hall and Hogan, or Nash and Hogan. That's the only way you elevate him to be the world champion, because look what happened with the finger poke of doom. Even Nash was second banana to Hogan, had to give the belt back to Hogan, right? So there's real no way for him to stay with those guys and be world champion because they've made him obviously the third guy.
So the best scenario for Scott Hall is a little bit of envy, a little bit of jealousy against Hogan, against Nash, and hate.
Babyface, get him them pops he was getting in '92 in the WWF.
And be on the WCW side, even though after he did all those surveys.
No, fuck that. He don't give a fuck about WCW. Lone Wolf it.
Oh, Lone Wolf, Scott Hall. Then he has no. Oh, okay. That's a different situation.
What Sting was. Sting didn't trust Lex. He didn't trust nobody. He's like, fuck all y'all. And then finally.
But that's the thing. Finally, you have to have backup. That's what I'm just trying to say.
And you have Sting and Lex come save fucking Hall. And then Hall's like, fuck it, I'm Team WCW after he gets some help. He trusts them now.
The reason I say that is because WCW tried the Lone Wolf without a belt. But again, but what you said is kind of paramount because, again, he was the third wheel because he was a Lone Wolf because nobody, Nash didn't like him because he was a drunk. Hogan didn't like him because he didn't trust him. WCW didn't trust him. So he was alone. He was really a loner and all that stuff. And then it didn't work out that way. So your loner gimmick is more, he has to cost Hogan the belt, or he has to cost Nash a title, or he has to cost maybe the NWO control of WCW board of directors, kind of shit like that. Make it so epic that he becomes the Lone Wolf against the NWO, and he has to fight them, lose a little bit, and then earn the trust of maybe Lex Luger, earn the trust of Sting,
lose to the strength in numbers. He's always getting fucked. That's kind of what DDP was too, wasn't he? Wasn't DDP kind of a fucking lone guy, and they kept trying to recruit him?
They kept trying to recruit him, but DDP was first about himself, and then he became Team WCW by convenience, if you read TW. So I'm just trying to be honest with you. So TW, you know what? You gave me a scenario here, but what would be the best scenario for Scott Hall to win the title? I mean, would you want him to win the title at Starrcade? Would you want him to win it at Halloween Havoc? Would you want him to win it on a Nitro like your guy Lex Luger did that made it so epic in the Monday Night Wars? What would have been the
Bash? I'd want him to win at the Bash.
Great American Bash?
Because Starrcade, it feels like it's just a foregone conclusion. The titles changing hands there. Even back with Flair and Dusty and Hart. It's just like every year that fucking belt changes hands there. Ronnie Garvin lost it back. Great American Bash, Sting won it there. I think Luger won it from Barry Windham. But they basically made Great American Bash fucking nothing. And that was their, to me, I never thought of Starrcade as a WrestleMania. I always thought of the Great American Bash as their WrestleMania, right? Which in theory, SummerSlam was their Great American Bash. I just feel like if you have Razor win it, You already got Lex. I don't want to take Lex's surprise win at a regular Nitro. I don't want him to win it at a house show. I'm like, oh, by the way, Scott Hall's champion. I want it to be a big moment. I want it to be fireworks and giving him his flowers. But I think the Great American Bash would be a good spot because it just gets old that every year the fucking title changes hands at Starrcade. It's just no one's expecting it at Great American Bash, so it's going to hit better.
Okay, it can hit better, and then he has time to kind of like build that, not like a couple of month run, and see how business goes with him as the champion during the summer days.
And summer's slow anyway for wrestling because people want to be outside. They don't want to go into fucking sporting events unless it's fucking. Dude, the next time I go to Comerica Park and it's fucking full will be the first time in years because even with them winning, that motherfucker's empty because. When it's nice out, people want to be out doing shit.
No, they just don't like the White Sox.
Playoffs, it's fucking packed, but it's not packed on a regular fucking Tuesday night game. I went on a Saturday. No, I went on a Tuesday. Yeah.
It's an experience to go to Cubs Wrigley Field. It's not an experience to go to Comerica Park. I'm just being honest with you. And I haven't gone to Chicago in a long time. Even I know I would rather go to Wrigley Field, but that's just me. But anyway,
what do you mean, like for the prestige of the building?
Yeah, Wrigley has the prestige.
Because Comerica's a nice ballpark.
Fuck nice.
It's Ferris wheel, a fucking merry-go-round. It's got fucking food from everywhere.
There's a different feeling from your fandom of going to Wrigley Field or going to the original Yankee Stadium or going to Fenway Park. It's just the feeling that you don't get it with newfangled futuristic stadiums. It doesn't work.
They all look the same at that point. Yeah. I like Tiger Stadium was a fucking dumpster, all right? And no offense, Yankee Stadium gave me Tiger Stadium vibes as far as you guys upgraded it at least. That place we went and hid from the rain. That was nice. And Comerica has that. Tiger Stadium did not. So I like I think if they could have upgraded Tiger Stadium and kept the ambiance of Tiger Stadium, I understand what you're saying. And one day, I'm going to try to go to Chicago on a weekend and hit the Wrigley Field one day and the Cubs or White Sox the next.
Think about it this way. When the stadium catches that ambiance, like Baltimore, Camden Yards, it's just better. And even before that, Milwaukee's new dome is better for the ambiance. San Francisco Giants with Covey Cove, it's the ambiance. That's a newfangled thing. Once you capture that moment, it's an experience no matter what. Then if you try to demolish it and then just get greedy with money, you ain't gonna catch that magic again. But we're not talking about baseball. No, you're right.
I'm sorry, Commanders.
Get it right. Get it right before they
Cleveland Indians, bitch. I wore the Indians jersey to the game.
Remember, that's the Tommy Wonder on Twitter that you can protest.
Yeah, but just know this. When I wore that Cleveland Indians jersey to the Cleveland Stadium, I got more high fives there than I did at Yankee Stadium wearing that number 22 jersey.
Because that didn't matter. But anyway, let's put a bow on this Scott Hall, Razor Ramon. Again, I think for WCW purposes, I do like the bash thing because it's more of a tester for Scott Hall to see if he can have a lengthy run. So my question on this before we kind of really put a bow on everything.
I was thinking Super Brawl. That's why I was thinking October. Fall Brawl is like October, September-ish.
But TW, you gave me the pay-per-view that you want to see him win.
No. I'm telling you why I thought Super Brawl was in the fall because fall.
No. Let's go back to your bash. I want to go back to your Great American. Yeah. What's the best scenario for who should Scott Hall beat to become the WCW champion?
Hogan.
Make it make sense. Oh, you just said, well,
when did he win the World War III Battle Royal? In February?
November of 97.
Okay, so from November of 97 up into the bash, every time he's got Hulk Hogan almost beat, someone fucks him. Ric Flair, Four Horsemen style. Finally, Great American Bash, how the referees go, out of here. And like by then there's 37 NWO guys. So someone's coming from everywhere. Finally, someone like Sting just rolls off from under the ring and just fucking baseball bats everybody. And Scott Hall hits the razor's edge on Hogan because Owen can get in to get him. And he wins the belt.
So would it be more of a perfect moment for Nash to see the light and help Scott Hall become the champion, or do you want him to just win it outright himself and defy all odds?
Mind that, but Kevin Nash can't be the reason he wins. He can be the reason someone doesn't get in there to.
Why not?
Because then it taints his win. I want him to win clean. I want him to just fucking outsider edge Hogan, because all the people that are trying to interfere for Hogan, Nash, Sting, and DDP form a wall and stop him, or whatever the fuck, Goldberg, Luger, whoever.
Okay.
Almost lumberjack style. Matter of fact, you could make it a lumberjack match, half NWO, half WCW, and then shockingly, it's Nash that stops Buff from getting in there with the chair or whatever, and then Scott Hall wins because he stopped Buff from interfering. It would be a swerve.
And then we'll really get out of here. Would you ever want, with Scott Hall being the champion, of course, you just said he beat Hogan. Do you want him to defend the title against Nash? Do you want him to defend the title against DDP?
Helps him, then Nash is just be his buddy.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to see like the scenario of defenses, like Sting, Luger, Big
if he's
Show.
Babyface, he's not going to fight Sting, so he would have to fight Hogan, Big Show if he's in the fucking NWO, Scott Steiner, Buff Bag. He's got to beat a couple of them low, like fucking Norton and Buff Bagwell should be the feeder fish, and then obviously beat Hogan in the rematch, and then maybe he's the one that drops it to Scott Steiner. Just not Jeff Jarrett.
Why not? Ain't he great?
I want to like Jeff Jarrett, but I can't.
Again, we can't please everybody.
I don't mean him as a person. I mean, I liked him when he was double.
I know what you meant. I know what you meant. I'm talking about the business end. We can't please everybody. But anyway,
right.
With that being said, TW, let's put a bow on this again. You have said it for many years on this particular podcast that Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, should have been a world heavyweight champion, and I agree with that wholeheartedly, 100%. So I guess the question still remains: either organization, can he carry a company with the belt? Can he get the gate? Can he get the buy rates? Does either Scott Hall or Razor Ramon give you all the parameters for the business to boom?
If they put it on Razor Ramon when he's white hot, absolutely 100% he can. And at first I thought no for WCW, but then I thought about it. One of the most fucking over things on WCW Nitro was that dude going, "Hey, yo, survey time." So if he does that as a babyface, as a champion, 83 weeks might have been 93 weeks. It might still be going today because he gave them enough foundation that they're still neck and neck, and then there's no AEW, and everybody wins. It's a great, great situation.
Okay, there you go. Again, there's no wrong answers when it's what if. We're changing history for hopefully for the better, and that's why I said it's a very murky question. TW, you understand this? I'm just being truthful here. Can Scott Hall be one of those reasons, like a Rock, like an Austin, like a Hogan, like a Cena? Can he join those pillars of people that draw? Could he?
I think so. Especially WWE 93, 94, if the business picks up sooner, because otherwise he's taking the blame for it not picking up like Bret did. Which it was not Bret's fault. Just it was the fucking up and down of wrestling.
I think one thing this show concludes is Vince McMahon made the mistake of giving Diesel the belt instead of giving Razor the shot. And with that being said...
Or he gave Diesel multiple belts. He could have gave one of them to Razor.
No, I'm just saying, but he chose Diesel. He chose him as the leader of the next generation.
Because he's a fucking mark for the fucking Giants.
There you go. And with that being said, we close on this What If edition of the PWR podcast here at the HAMIN Media Group at PowerBeam.com. And you know what? Again, this is the last Skype recording. We had our great moments, TW, of 8 years. Sometimes the Wi-Fi broke out. Sometimes I didn't know what happened. Sometimes TW was in it. Whatever. But anyway, TW was in a car. Sometimes I had to record off my phone. It was those great times with Skype. And now we have to move on. And we're going to have to move on to, I don't know, what is it? Teams? Microsoft Teams? But anyway.
Yeah.
Hopefully we will get the bugs out the way and we will record on schedule through Microsoft Teams. But I can't guarantee you that. But will I go episodic? We will try. Will I go episodic? Will we do a movie? Will we do a rivalry? We're not doing it. Maybe I might do a what if. I might have another what if.
Where's Waldo, but call it Where's JB. We could do that show.
Well, we already knew he was on a gay cruise. But anyway.
Yeah, healing.
I will keep you on your toes, Reflectionites. I will keep you on your toes. So TW, give out those socials so we can finally get out of here.
And listen, I just want to say thank you to Skype for being there for the whole 8.5 years. Because it's really, obviously, it wasn't Skype's fault that all that stuff happened. It was power out, or it was, because that's when I did it from the car. The power went out. I went out in my car and did it on my phone. You did it on your phone. Sometimes it was connection issues, but for the most part, Skype's been a very, very cool. And I've done other things with Zoom and all the other stuff. This has been the most easy, simplistic thing, and I hope Teams is just as easy, because the only thing I have a problem with Skype is all the damn catfish that try to fucking join me. Every time I sit down here to sign in, I gotta block all these fucking foreign fake people that are telling me they want to marry me and move to America. That can get out of there. So Teams hopefully take care of that. But the Pro Wrestling Coalition Network sponsors us at PWC Network at podbean.com. Also HAMIN Media Group at podbean.com, and they're also at channelattitude.com. Our X is at PW Reflection. JB is at the P1JB. Travis, I mentioned him. He's at Nuts and Volts PW. That's VOELTZ, not Nuts and Bolts. It's Nuts and Bolts PW. Big Ray's everywhere on the internet at Big Ray Hernandez, and every Wednesday he's live on YouTube with the Next Level Podcast. You can get me on X, Threads, and Instagram at TommyWonder19. Snapchat is #Wonder. Facebook.com/TommyWonder. And then my other X and TikTok are at the Tommy Wonder. And Big Vito and Noel can be found at Big Vito Brand on TikTok. You don't stop. And the early release of the Reflection video, as always, is at Big Ray Hernandez on X.
And you can find me on my Blue Sky at pwsprf.bsky.social. You can find me on the Twitter at pw. Don't give me that face. This is for Skype.
How do you lead with that nonsense? By Sky, whatever the hell you call it.
Dude,
your dating app.
I share the Reflection everywhere.
By Sky what?
Blue Sky. But anyway, I can be found on the Twitter. Shut up. We're trying to end the show, all right? I'm on the Xer at PWSPRF. That's PWSProf. And if this gets uploaded by that slow-ass motherfucker A-Track Brown, it will be on the PWSO YouTube network. But subscribe to my YouTube channel at DA Professor. Again, I don't monetize. I'm not trying to make money. I'm just trying to share the joy. I'm trying to share the nostalgia with all the Reflectionites out there. Follow my brothers in arms. And you know what? Billy Ray Valentine, he's mad at the world. He's mad at The Rock. He's mad at, everybody. But the professor's happy. But anyway, you can follow Billy Ray Valentine at Obi-Wan You Know Me. And of course, the king of the reaction is A-Track Brown at the #8 TRAC Brown. And again, I don't know what we're going to do next week, but we have to make sure that Microsoft Teams works. So hopefully we get the bugs out of that, and we'll give you episodic. We might give you rivalries. We might do another spotlight, or we might do a what if. But I'll keep you on your toes, Reflectionites. I'll keep you on your toes. I'm the professor. That's
one more thing.
Wonderful.
One more thing before you say bye. I would like to congratulate the most, what's it called, damn it? Untapped potential for getting signed, and it's apropos. She's wearing her Razor Ramon gear. Indy Hartwell signing with Impact Wrestling, which means her countryman Duke Hudson can't be far behind, baby. Another untapped potential. So I'm happy that Indy got signed to Impact Wrestling.
You know that means she's not really signed to Impact Wrestling. She'll be wrestling everywhere else, but it is.
And on NXT or something at some point.
Why go back? It's almost like going back, and somebody else is cutting the check.
She got fucking released. I'm sure she's okay going back.
I'm just saying. But anyway, I'm the professor. That's Mr. Wonderful, Dum Doing Idiot Zone, the Iron Stomach One, Dr. Freaking Stein, and the undisputed Detroit Rock City Heavyweight Champion of the world, but also the United States Washington, D.C. Heavyweight Champion of the county. Tommy Wonder, and the fireworks haven't gone off yet. I just seen thumbs up. And we're here to say good night, and we'll see you next time. And I will be happy that we're going on Microsoft Teams, because hopefully the thumbs up and the fireworks and the rain will not be shown there again. Goodbye, Skype. Hello, Microsoft Teams. Peace.
Peace.